My name's Abby. I have a brand called Linux Studio, which uses natural fibres and natural dyes. Okay. Phew. As you can imagine, working with botanicals in nature is infinite. There's so much around us that we can harness and use to create pigment. What's really beautiful about it as well, it's been a really amazing lesson for me in letting go of control and expectation of what the end result is. At the end of the day, you're working with nature. So when you're working with a natural fibre and a natural dye material, you're facilitating that marriage of those things, but you don't really have control over what the end result is going to be. My philosophy is a lot more intuitive. So I use elements of science and chemistry and alchemy, but for me it's much more in kind of putting these things together and then stepping back and allowing them to have their own life. When I first met with Samara to discuss how to create this colour for Sabii, my intuition was saying to use eucalyptus because it's such, as you can imagine, living in Australia, it's such an abundant, beautiful resource that we have around us. And it's true to where we are. It has a beautiful story about, creating with our surroundings. And it means it's producing, like, as you can see here, we've got quite a few different tones. And every time every different garment is dipped, it gives us a slightly different tone and its own kind of unique expression. Which is really beautiful, and I think in leaning into that and really celebrating that, I think is what's beautiful about working with natural dyes, so that every single garment is unique and has its own story to tell. It has slight variation in the way that the dyes come out. It has like a really subtle leaf print where the leaf has been pressed against the fibre. Eucalyptus is also very heavy in tannins, and tannins really assist the dyes to stick to the fibre. So I use eucalyptus and I also use iron. So I create my own iron mordant and colour modifier by using vinegar and water, which draws the cast iron out of the vessel that I use. I then mix that with the eucalyptus and it really darkens and mutes the colour to a really beautiful dark greyish brown. And the iron also assists the dye to really hold onto the fibre, so you've got amazing colour fastness and light fastness, and then longevity of the dye over time. What I also love to do is dye the garments as a whole garment, as opposed to dyeing the fabric and then creating the garment and cutting and sewing it once the fabric's also been dyed. So that really allows each garment to have its own story and have its own beautiful little imperfections and markings that are unique to that particular garment. I think there's something really beautiful when you can see that a garment or anything has been created by hand, because it has, imperfections or things that we regard to not be consistent. But for me, that's where the beauty lies, and it means that we can see it's got a soul to it, it's got story to it, and we treasure it and we want to hold on to it because we can see that it's had this beautiful journey into creation.
Wabi Sabi.
It's Wabi Sabi.